Welcome everybody to the Single and Stilettos Show. If you're just finding our show for the very first time, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on Single and Stilettos. Our website really focuses on giving women the secrets on what attracts and keeps the right guy from all the top dating, relationship, and sex experts across the board. So today as our guest, we actually have Robert Manni. He is the author of the book, The Guy's Guide to Love. It's actually his first novel. He used to work in advertising, and Robert survived 20 years of single life in the big city. Robert can be heard on ABC Radio's new lifestyle station, Men's Life, with a featured show on dating and relationships. He's a regular contributor to online magazines galtime.com and straightuplove.com. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to let all the ladies know, if you go to singleandstilettos.com, you can pick up our free report on the top 10 secrets on what attracts a man. You just go to our site, singleandstilettos.com, and in the right-hand column, you'll see you can get our free report. All you have to do is enter in your name and email address, and you can get it sent to you right away. So now, on to the show. Okay, welcome everybody to the Single and Stilettos video show. Today on the show, we have Robert Manni, and he is the author of this book, The Guy's Guide to Love. And I will tell you, I just read this book and it was awesome. I love this book. It reminded me of Sex and the City from a male perspective, and you add in like modern day Mad Men, and I just got my total Sex and the City fix from a guy's perspective. So it was really fun to get that different perspective. And I felt like when I was reading the book, I actually felt like I was actually in the story. I felt like I was a part of the whole story and I could relate to all the characters. But so I wanted to have Robert on. Welcome, Robert.
Hey, thank you very much, Suzanne. And I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to read the book and that you really seemed to get out of it what I intended.
Well, it's not even that. I was hooked. I literally couldn't stop reading it. I kept wanting to read the next chapter and find out what happened. And we're not going to ruin it for people. But Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And because I know this isn't your background. This is the first book you wrote, right? And I'd love to hear how you came up with the concept and what made you write this book.
Okay, well, my background's in marketing and advertising, like yourself, Suzanne, and we all evolve. Most people in our business are creative by soul, if you will, and regardless if you're on the business side of the business or the creative side, there's always a creative bent that you have. So I gave myself about 10 years. I've always wanted to write, and I needed something to write about, and writing is a craft. So I started writing in around the year 2000, and I did a practice novel. And I put that out there and contacted agents and kind of learned how the business worked and what they were looking for and some of the nomenclature and terminology, etc. And then I took a step back and said, I'm going to write another novel. And I think I made not the mistake, but the learning in the first novel, which was a little bit about myself and thinly veiled. And I wanted to get a message across, but not have it be about me. So what I did was I wrote this book, The Guy's Guide to Love, in third person. And I actually found that it was very freeing to do that because it allowed me to live through the characters and get my message out there in a way where the characters really did take on a life of their own. And when I hear somebody like yourself say that you felt like you were living inside of the story, and that's the greatest praise that a writer can get, and that makes all of the hard work worthwhile. And believe me, writing a novel and learning the craft of writing takes many years. I've run 3 marathons, and I've got to tell you, marathons are long, but nothing compared to writing a novel because you have to come up with the story, you have to develop the conflicts, you have to develop the characters, and then you have to learn how to write in a way that's digestible for your audience.
Yeah, I agree. And I have run 1 marathon and I thought I was going to die, and it's the only marathon I've ever run. So I'm impressed that you say this is harder than that. So, you know, without giving away the actual story, because I want the viewers to, you know, read the book and not have us, you know, ruin anything for them. But what I would love to do is talk about 2 of the main characters in the book, because I think a lot of women can learn from the two characters when it comes to dating. And one of the people I would love to talk about is the guy Roger. And Roger's kind of the big player. He gets all the women. He's a good-looking guy. Is there anything you want to add to,
Well, yeah. It's really interesting in our little pre-discussion of the interview that you focused on Roger Fox, and then there's a female kind of counterpart to him, Veronica Sparks. And they are actually the kind of, I don't want to say secondary characters, but they're not the main two characters, but they seem to bubble up in the reader's consciousness when they read this book, because I think they're so identifiable in terms of being archetypes that people have either known or can relate to.
Right, and that's the thing, is that I know every woman out there has dated the total player, the good-looking guy, and I think a lot of women hope that they can change the guy, and I hear that all the time, and I would just love to hear your perspective about, the player-type guy, and can women really change him?
Well, as you know in the story, I believe in redemption, so I certainly think anybody can evolve. And I don't think, and this of course comes across in the novel also, that it's the woman's responsibility to change a man. I think it's like you can lead the horse to water, but he has to drink. So a man has to want to change, and he has to want to change for the right reason. And if a woman's there to support him in his desire to be the best he can be, that's the best case scenario. I think a lot of women get stuck where they try to change the guy. They have this vision of what they know he can be, and it's hard for the guy to, because the guy's so close to himself, obviously, to see that. And I think many women spend a little bit too much extra time focusing on trying to change the guy, and sometimes it's not worth it, and sometimes the guy doesn't want to change, and sometimes he can't change.
So would you say that it's a big mistake for a woman to go into a relationship with a guy that's a player and say, oh, well, I'm going to be the one that he's going to change for because I'm sure he hasn't met anyone like me? Do you think that's a mistake for a woman to do?
I think that's probably something that happens a lot, where a woman thinks he's going to stop his wild ways with me, and that might be the case, but you have to ask yourself, if you're a lady in that situation, is why is he the way he is? Is it because he hasn't found the right woman, or he's a little bit spoiled? And nowadays, with women are more aggressive in terms of the dating game, particularly younger women. Guys don't work that hard. And one of my blogs on my website is how to score dates with hot women in your tidy whities, and that's because it's too easy for guys nowadays. So a lot of guys are spoiled and they don't want to change, and they don't think they have to, because, and I've read, as you have, some of the the books about dating written by men, and some of the guys feel like, what, where else are you going to turn? You're stuck with us, so we don't have to change. I think that's wrong. I think men should evolve, try to be the best they can be, and I think a woman should be there and work with him. But if a guy's going to be all ego, I would recommend for women to, make a decision based on what you think can possibly happen, and then give it a shot, and then talk to the guy. And you can't force change. Change has to happen the man has to want to be the best he can be, and the woman has to be there to help him along, but you can't force the guy to change.
Oh, I completely agree. And I think women shouldn't go into a relationship thinking they can change a guy. Because usually a guy doesn't go into a relationship and think he can change a woman. He kind of accepts her for who she is. Do you think that the guy who's the player has commitment issues?
I don't think it's commitment issues necessarily. I think his issue, Roger Fox, in the book, is that I tried to portray him as a player, but a bon vivant. He likes women, and he knows that he does not know how to love. But women are attracted to him. He doesn't use roofies. He doesn't force himself on women. He's just a charismatic guy who has his way. But underneath, because of that, he's almost held back from loving, because he hasn't had to learn how to love. And I wanted to show that a guy like that, I want to create a three-dimensional womanizer, a lovable Lothario, if you will, who has a chance to do the right thing and also help his best friend in the process.
Now, what tips would you give women about dating or not dating a player? Like, are there things that women should look out for that are red flags in a guy when they first start dating him that are signs that he's a player?
Well, I think it takes a little bit of time to figure out if he's a player or not. But you can test by his general demeanor if he's paying attention to you. So that means, on the first date, if he's checking his iPhone for messages the entire time, he's not respecting you or paying enough attention. And if he doesn't have a plan when he takes you out, that's not a good sign. And if he doesn't pick up the check on the first date, that's not a good sign. And if he doesn't ask you out either by phone or by in person, that's not a good sign either. And I think it's very easy to fall into patterns where a guy doesn't have to do that much. And a guy by default, almost because of that, can become a quote-unquote, even if he's a grade C, he still can be a womanizer, just because it's so easy to become one nowadays, because there's a lot of women out there looking for a good guy, and a lot of them are, I don't want to say lowering the bar, but kind of putting up with some of men's bad behavior.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So you mentioned something that actually a lot of women bring up to me, and that's how women really dislike when a guy only uses texting. So what tip can you give women to get a guy to stop texting her all the time? I mean, women don't mind if they text her every once in a while, but how does a girl get a guy to pick up the phone and just call every once in a while to ask her out for a date?
Well, I guess depends where you are in the relationship. I think initially, if the guy asks a woman out by text, I would either, if I was a woman, I would suggest don't respond or say, I'm busy, give me a call. But force them a little bit, nudge them, and then once you get to know the guy, you could say, listen, we're going to make a go of this thing. I want to get to know you, and so that takes an extra step in opening up a little bit and being available. And text only gives you a portion of what that other person is. And it's too easy just to like disappear, when you're just in text and email. And like, I guess email is even passe at this point because things are moving so quickly. So I would, if I was a woman, I think you have to speak up and not make it a demand, but hey, make it a positive. It's not what you're giving up, it's what you're getting.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, aren't men, don't they want to please a woman? If she says this is what she likes, that he'll go out of it, obviously if he's interested, but he'll go out of his way to please her. If that's what she likes, he'll make an effort.
Well, of course, everybody's self-serving, and he has to see, like, what's in it for me, and he should be able to see that, pleasing a woman that he's interested in will obviously provide an opportunity for him to have pleasure of her company in whatever way that may be, but it's not always that simple. So I think guys have to be a little bit circumspect in terms of what do they want. And I think women fall into this trap also, where even with online dating, people don't decide what they want before they embark on the journey. And a lot of times, then we get to halfway through the journey and we're like, well, I forgot where I'm going. So I think regardless of the situation, when a man and a woman first meet each other, they have to take the time and prioritize the need to learn about the other person and kind of unveil and unpeel their skin along the way.
Right. Now, let's talk about one of the other characters in the book. Her name's Veronica. And the way I looked at Veronica was she's the really, really hot girl that every guy goes for, that is just dying to be with her. She has a lot of self-confidence. I picture her as the type of woman, when she walks in a room, everybody's head turns. And a guy's lucky to be with her. But I also noticed in her character that she's actually missing a lot of qualities. And tell us a little bit more about her, and then I want to ask you some questions about that type of woman.
Okay, well, she is an archetype also. Veronica is the type of woman, you described her perfectly. She's the race that never ends, and she's the mountain that you can never get to the top to, and she's the type A model type that every guy desires, where she's brains and great in bed and great in business, and just all eyes are on her in a positive way. And there are women like that, and the main character in our novel, Max Halliday, he kind of falls into that trap where he wants to be with her, but he really doesn't know why, but he just keeps going back for more, and it kind of backfires on him because similar to what happens a lot of time in real life, the perfect person for him is actually right in front of him, and he doesn't see her.
Right. And why is it, I think a lot of women wonder, like, why is that guy with her? Because when we've all said that, because we know that type of woman where she's not really the nicest person in the world. She's kind of almost like a shark, like she'd eat a guy alive. And, you know, she kind of takes guys for granted. And she doesn't have like all the other inner qualities that some other women have that are just as beautiful. Why do the guys fall for that type of women, and then it's almost like they're hypnotized and they're entranced with her?
That's a perfect way of describing it, Suzanne. It is hypnotism. Guys are visual, and if the sex is being exuded from her and she has that glow and the guy's into that, and that's it, that can cure a lot of ills short term, but eventually, you know, a couple will succeed or fail based on getting to know what's on the inside instead of just on the outside. But guys will, sex will overcome a lot for a guy, much more so, I think, I'm going out on a limb here, than for a woman.
I completely agree with you. And I think that's where a lot of women make the mistake because they don't think that is actually true. But what advice could you give a woman that is trying to compete against a woman like Veronica in the real world and trying to get the guy, but she's competing against her?
Right. Well, that's always going to happen, and the best you can do is you have to be yourself. I mean, nowadays guys compete against the male version of Veronica, which is actually Roger Fox. I attempted to make the mirror images of each other, so when it works, when they're together, you know, they have hot sex and it works, but then it also doesn't work because they're too much alike. And I think whether you're a guy or a gal in that type of situation, what you need to do is call upon your inner reserves and be confident in who you are as an individual and just deal with it. And you're going to lose sometimes to a Veronica if you're a woman, or to a Roger if you're a guy, but that's just showbiz. I mean, that's, you know, that's what we call, you know, if you've been born with the lucky sperm club and, you know, you get the right genes or whatever, that's what you have to deal with. But there are ways of getting past that in terms of being authentic, having confidence. Women, I think, are attracted to a guy. Doesn't have to be the best looking man, as long as he's on a mission, he's confident in who he is, and he's positive. I think women are attracted to that. Guys are a little more shallow, and they're going to go with the visual. I mean, look at the women that men are attracted to, who we think are beautiful, versus the women that other women think are beautiful. And it's very different when you look at that. And one's all curves, and the other one might be a little more sophisticated, a little more elegant. But you don't hear guys talking about, wow, I really would love to have been with Audrey Hepburn. And a lot of women think she's, you know, totally cool and a quintessential lady. Whereas guys will say, wow, did you see Pamela Lee in Barbed Wire? That's hot. And that's just the way it is. What are you going to do? That's how people are wired.
Right. And I think an important point to bring up, though, is that every guy's different in what he thinks is beautiful. But I always tell women this, is that's why you have to look your best, because men are very visual. And if you don't look your best, men will never go, oh, well, let me find out if she has a great personality. Men aren't like that. Women are. Women will get to know a guy as long as there's some sort of attraction. So I think that's so important. So, again, I don't want to give any more away about this story because I really want people to read the book. But I would love to get your best dating tip from a man's perspective for women. Man's
best dating tip for a guy?
No, for women about a guy. Like,
I think the most important thing for women is the thing that every guy seeks in women is somebody who understands him and is supportive of what their ambition, goal, or dream is. And if you can make the man you're developing a relationship feel that you believe in them, they will be putty in your hands.
That's an excellent tip, I think, to leave with. So before we leave, though, I want to do two things. And the book is, again, The Guy's Guide to Love. And so for all the viewers, what we're going to do is we're actually going to run a contest. We're going to give away one of the books. And all you have to do is go to facebook.com/single and stilettos and just comment on the video and tell us what you liked about the video and what Robert had to say. And we're also going to give away one of these awesome t-shirts. So again, we're going to pick the two winners at random, and we'll get your information and we'll mail it to you. And thanks so much again, Robert, for being here today. And ladies, you got to go out and get this book. Where can they get the book, Robert?
Probably the best place is on Amazon or the other e-tailers, although you can get the physical book or you can get the e-book. We've done limited distribution in bookstores, so the best place to buy it, and usually the best price, is on Amazon or some of the other e-tailers.
Yeah, and you know, summer's coming, and I will tell you, this is a great beach book. So thanks again, Robert, for being here today, and take care.
Thanks so much, Suzanne. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Single and Stilettos show. I hope you enjoyed our guest, Robert Manni. Just a reminder, if you want to get our free report on the top 10 secrets on what attracts a man, you can go to singleandstilettos.com, and in the right-hand column, you will see you can enter in your name and email address, and we'll send you the free report right away. And also, we'll notify you each week about our new guest. We interview a top dating, relationship, or sex expert each week, and you'll get notified about our shows. So thanks, and have a great day.